Welcome to the Highly Effective Man podcast, hosted by former Navy SEAL turned life and fitness coach. I'm your host, JP Bolwan. This podcast is your resource for unlocking the healthiest, most productive, and highly effective man within you. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Highly Effective Man podcast. I'm glad you guys are here today. I just got back from a trip to San Diego. It was great. I got to see some of my clients that I've worked with recently. And there's nothing better than, going to San Diego, seeing one of your friends get married or two of your friends get married, and then also at the same time be able to see a couple of your clients. So two of these clients, she was getting married and she looked awesome. We worked together for about 3 months leading up to her wedding. And just before the wedding, we had stopped working together and she continued to lose weight and just get tighter and leaner. And she looked amazing. So, Monica, if you listen to this, great job. Super happy for you. And Sean, awesome. And then I also got to see one of my other clients, Brenda, which you guys may have seen some of the stuff about her, but she's lost probably 30, 40 pounds since we started working together. And it was just really cool to be out in San Diego, seeing some friends, and then also seeing some clients and just the progress that they've made being in the program. And, the conversations that I was having was leading to, some diet and different things like that. And, one of the main things that you can do for your health in the long term, and actually the most important thing that you can do for your diet or for your health in the long term, is to look at your nutrition and what you're eating. And one of the things when I was coaching a lot for CrossFit and teaching the nutrition in the seminars is that we talk about chronic disease, and chronic diseases are like things like type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancer, those types of diseases. And many of those diseases can be attributed to just not eating properly or not eating the foods that you should be eating. And so I just did a quick search on, diabetes in the CDC website, and it's shocking. I mean, it's completely shocking because I had this podcast idea down for a while, and the title of the podcast, or what I had written down, was by 2050, there will be 50 million Americans that are type 2 diabetic. And here's how to avoid becoming one of them. And so that was something that I had kind of tabled and I was going to write about and talk about. And when I went to the CDC and I was looking at some of the stats, I was like, we're going to hit 50 million Americans before 2050 easily. And that's shocking. And so if you go to I'm going to throw some numbers out at you guys, and you're probably going to be like, I can't believe this. So when they look at, this is just for people that have already been diagnosed as diabetics. So total, there's 37.3 million Americans that have diabetes. So it's 11.3% of the U.S. population. And there's diagnosed 28.7 million. And undiagnosed, 8.5 million people. I don't know how they get that number, that undiagnosed, but that's crazy. We're already close to 40 million people, and we're at, year 2022? So no way that is that going to be, 50 million Americans by 2050. It's going to be before that. We're going to hit that before that. And when you look at the total of pre-diabetics, so these are people that are on the cusp of being type 2 diabetic, it's 96 million people aged between 18 years or older have pre-diabetes. I'll repeat that again. 96 million people aged 18 years or older have pre-diabetes. That's 38% of the adult U.S. population. And if you're 65 years or older, there's 26.4 million people aged 65 years or older. And that percentage is 48.8%. So, if you think you are eating correctly and you think, I eat fine, like I bet you if I ask 10 people how's their diet, how do they think they're eating, like that type of stuff, I bet 8 of those 10 would probably say like, I don't eat that bad. I eat fine. But the statistics show that we as Americans are not eating the way we should be eating. Okay. And so this podcast should serve as a wake-up call to you to really look at what you're eating, what we are eating, and the habits that we have around food, the things that we do socially around food, all of that, and what is it promoting? What is it doing for our health? What is it doing for our kids? Because if you look at the stats that they have for kids, the rate of new cases of diabetes among children and adolescents continues to grow. So nearly 1 in 5 adolescents between 12 and 18 years of age, so that's 1 in 4 young adults, have prediabetes. That's shocking to me. And what does that tell me? Okay, that tells me like the parents, because kids don't decide what they eat for the most part, unless, they're going to school and that type of stuff, that we don't have control over some of those things. But as adults, we have a responsibility to, one, take care of ourselves, but then on top of that, take care of our kids and make sure that we show them the correct foods to eat and how to eat and the things to do to avoid becoming diabetic or pre-diabetic. And so I was going to talk about, some other things, but when I came across these stats, I was just shocked, and I was like, oh my God, I got to talk about this. And so with diabetes, it shows up because we've had a pattern of eating foods that aren't right for us. And foods that would fall into that category would be, anything that with a lot of added sugar, refined carbohydrates, anything that's processed, all of that stuff is killing us. I can't say it in a nicer way, but it is literally killing people. And so what we have to do is minimize how much of those foods we are eating. Now, I'm not saying like you never have a piece of cake or you never eat bread or pasta or anything like that, but you really have to look at how often you are eating those types of foods, right? So really looking at minimizing those throughout your daily life, maybe even, weekly. And so how do we avoid becoming a statistic? Well, you cut out the sugars. You eat whole foods, right? So that's eating meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar, right? If you're looking at, what CrossFit says. And then on top of that, eating the correct amount of food to support activity and not body fat, right? And that's just another level, right? That's saying, okay, I'm eating for the level of activity that I have, right? So if I'm not exercising 5-6 times a week, well, I need to cut back on the amount of food that I'm eating. And if I can, I need to make better choices on some of those foods that I'm eating. Other things that we can do are exercise, right? And, when I'm coaching people, I like to tell them, hey, don't go into the gym for the first time for an hour and a half, 2 hours and kill yourself. Start off slow, whether it be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but just do it more often throughout the week. Right. And just establish the habit of somebody that goes to the gym and working out. Same thing with eating, right? You can make slow changes and say, hey, I'm just going to cut out bread this week. Maybe go a couple weeks and then, maybe then you add something else. All right. I'm going to cut out any kind of sugar related food or flour and different things like that. And slowly make changes, because it's really hard to go from eating whatever the hell you want and whatever comes in front of you to trying to be strict, okay? And one of the great things about watching your diet or watching your food is that if you're disciplined enough to stick to a diet or a healthy diet, because whether you like it or not, you're on a diet. It may not be a healthy diet, and it could be an unhealthy diet. So we're all on a diet, some sort of diet. Okay. Some of us are on like a fast food, whatever we can get in our mouth diet, or what's the funny one that people like to say is like, oh, I'm on a seafood diet, right? I see food and I eat it. Okay. So we want to be on a healthy diet. And one of the great things about eating healthy is that it allows you the freedom to be able to enjoy some of those other foods without having any guilt, without feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to be sick, and those types of things. And, I know I talk about CrossFit a lot, but, it's been, CrossFit has changed so much about fitness. And, I don't care if you think that, CrossFit's bad for you or this and that, but what CrossFit has done is taking health and nutrition and the idea of longevity to another level, right? And it's been proven. You can argue all you want, but like you take some CrossFitters that have been doing CrossFit for a long time that are like, even like 60, 70-year-olds, and they're some of the most healthy people out there. And so what I want to tell you is that CrossFit will tell you that, with doing exercise and eating right, you're moving they have what they call the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum, right? And basically what that is like the more fit we are, the more of a hedge against sickness we have, right? So if we're really fit, we can go a couple weeks of, not watching what we eat and maybe drinking a few brews and, eating pizza and all that. And it's not going to affect us that much, right? But if you're already sick and you're, continuing to eat terribly and not watching what you eat and not exercising, well, now you're kind of like, you're redlining your health and shit might go sideways at any point, right? And I'm a firm believer that like what we do in our teens, 20s, and 30s, like, yeah, we can get away with stuff, but what we don't know what's happening is that this stuff's building up little by little as we get older and older and older. And then by our 40s, our 50s, it's like that's when the diagnoses come down. That's when the heart attacks happen. That's when like shit goes sideways, right? So I want to encourage you, if you're around my age, which is 44 right now, really dial in your diet because you're going to need to be healthy if you want to last another 40 years, 50 years, whatever it is, okay? If you're in your 20s and 30s, dial it in because you don't want to be 40 years old on all kinds of medications and, like realizing like, damn, I should have done better, okay? So, and it's not that you eat unhealthy. It's just, this is the American way. Like everywhere you go, there's food, right? And everywhere you go, there's these huge portions of food. Everywhere you go, there's easy access to food, right? And we don't need that much food, but it's there. It's a coping mechanism for a lot of people, whether it be emotional or stress, whatever it is. And we have to learn how to deal with those things without eating food. Same thing goes for drinking, right? Like a lot of people use alcohol to cope with stress, anxiety, whatever you want to call it, right? And so all of these things will start leading to complications later on in life. And what I want to encourage you guys to do is to find a diet that works for you, right? Because there's tons of diets out there. Some are highly restrictive in the types of foods that you can eat. Like if you're looking at the carnivore diet, I know is really popular right now, and people are eating, all meat and nothing else. And I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of the carnivore diet, but I know that I've had a lot of questions about it and people asking about it and people that are doing it and having great success, right? I find that highly restrictive, right? Because wherever I go, it's not like there's always going to be a great amount of protein, no matter where I go. And so it can be a little bit challenging. Same goes with keto. I've done keto, and I find for me that keto is highly restrictive and difficult to follow when I'm out and about doing different things. Okay. And for what works for me is counting my calories and my macros, because then I can make sure that whatever foods around me fits into those macros, and I can maintain the weight that I want to maintain, and I'm not over consuming on refined carbohydrates, sugars, and those types of things. And so when you can find what works for you and helps you stay at a weight that you want to be at and is healthy for you, you have good blood markers, you get your physicals done, and all the numbers are in line with what they should be. Now you're doing everything you can to avoid type 2 diabetes. You're doing everything you can to avoid heart attacks. You're doing everything you can to avoid cancer, Alzheimer's, you name it, any kind of chronic disease that's out there. And so really, this podcast is just a wake-up call to look at what you're eating, maybe what you ate last week. Maybe write down everything that you can remember that you ate last week and just look at it and be like, man, I don't know if that was a good idea. And chances are, if you haven't been doing that, you've probably had week after week after week of eating foods that may or may not be the most healthy for you. Okay? And so look at what you're eating, find something that works for you, and I promise you, if you eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar, and you eat at a quantity or at a level that supports activity and not body fat, you're going to be winning, okay? And what works for me is really focusing on the quantity of food and making sure that I can eat several different types of foods. And then what I do is if I'm eating, a lot of foods that are more on the less nutritious side, like bread, pasta, rice, I minimize those and work on eating foods that have more nutritious value. And that's it. That's all you got to do. And you're going to see your blood markers change. You're going to see some changes in your body. And I know it sounds like super simple, but it really is. And this can go on to the mindset and how to deal with stress, anxiety, all the things like your habits. But I really want you to focus in on the food that you're eating, and for this to serve as a public service announcement, it's crazy. I mean, when I look at that number of 37.3 million Americans, adults, have diabetes. And there's 96 million people that are 18 years or older that have prediabetes. And I want to say that this study is at least 2 years, or these stats are from 2 years ago, whatever it is. Okay. And so look at what you're eating, get on a plan, and start following it. Okay. And if you're a man and you don't know where to start, I have a program that's starting on May 9th. It's a men's group. Okay. You guys know that I have men's groups, I have women's groups, and I do one-on-one coaching. So if you're a man and you're looking to make some changes, or if you're worried about where you're at, and especially if you have family, get into this men's group, May 9th. Okay. Shoot me an email, jp@higherlevelcoaching.co, or go to my website, higherlevelcoaching.co, and fill out an application or schedule a call, and then we can get this thing going. All right. But it's shocking to me. And, as a firefighter here on Kauai, I would say, a good percentage of the calls are me going to people that have these chronic diseases. And a lot of the lifestyle choices are, these are things that could have been avoided by better lifestyle choices. And so look at what you're eating. And it's not about looking good or anything like that. This is about health. This is about extending your life and being around and having a healthy life, not having all these complications, right? Like high blood pressure, diabetes, even arthritis you can throw in there. So because it's all related around inflammation and and what sugar and glucose and not glucose, but obscene amounts of glucose will do to your body, because we could get into hormones and all of that, but that'd be another topic. But look at what you're eating. And if you're struggling or anything like that, you don't know where to start, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to, get on a call or just, email you, whatever I can to help. All right. Because that's what I'm doing. That's my mission, really. Like I'm trying to help people be better, live longer, do those types of things. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys have any topics that you guys want me to cover or look into, I'm happy to do that. Shoot me an email. If you found this valuable, leave me a review wherever you're listening to it. And tell me what you liked, what you don't like, and we'll go from there. Other than that, get on a diet, get on a program, start watching what you're eating so that you can be around for much longer. You can listen to more of my podcasts, I guess. No, seriously, but so that you can be around for your families. I mean, and be healthy and do a lot of cool things as you get older. All right, guys, let's go. Thank you for listening to the Highly Effective Man podcast. If you enjoyed or learned something on this episode, do me a favor and share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. And one last thing, if you want to work with me as your coach to help you get fit, be more productive, and in general, just be the most effective version of yourself, head over to my site, higherlevelcoaching.co. Once again, that's higherlevelcoaching.co, and schedule a call with me there. Thank you again. Let's go.